Dunbarton Board of Selectmen meeting to order.
Mike, you recorder?
No, we're gonna wait a second before we record, wait for Lean to get in. If I start late, my two peers will, be on my case. Lean, need you tape recorder.
Yep, I do have it.
I just called it the order, so I'll dealt with it. Okay, we're gonna continue on. All three selectmen are present, town administrator is present, board secretary is present, and Leo Martell is present, recording for the benefit of the citizens who can't attend. Thank you, Leo. Okay, gentlemen, I have minutes from last week.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 3rd, 2019 meeting minutes as amended.
Second. Thank you.
Any discussion on them? Yeah, just like the amendments were just, two sentences were just reworded and clarified. All in favor? Aye. Yeah, I know you wanted to speak in public comment, but I put you right on the agenda today.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, gonna open up for public comment. Please make sure to state your name for the audio video devices. Back row. Okay, no public comment. I'm gonna close public comment. Deb, if you want to come up if you want, and talk to us.
Sure.
This is Deb Trotter, school board chairman. She has a 2019 budget warrant update for us. And thank you for being.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of circle back around with the AV and then to kind of bring up something else. So the AV, we have decided to go forward with a warrant article. The way we're going to run it is, we have a donation from the PTO, a matching donation of $7,000. And we have the money from the kitchen fund, or what's now community center fund, which has been, there's about $5,000 in it.
I think there's more, but that's.
Oh, but we were gonna take about $5,000 for the AV project. It's gonna be it's gonna have three parts to it. Then what we are gonna do is with the additional about $8,000, we're still kind of finalizing that number on the estimate. We're gonna actually use that as part of a capital expenditure, because it is at $28,000 is a capital expenditure for us. So we're gonna take it as capital funds, so we'll probably take it out of our capital reserve, because we can do that as part of the construction project. So we're gonna have it as a warrant article that's fully 100% the school district. So that way we don't have to try to coordinate between the town and the school for warrant articles. So we will be finalizing that at our budget hearing on February 6th.
So you won't be using some of the town's portion of that money?
We will be using the community center fund, which we have we're the expending party on that. We don't have to go before anybody we can just expend that money.
Yep.
Typically it's a matching, and since we're gonna be putting in $8,000, it more than meets the requirement of that, because we're really only, by the fund, required to only put in $5,000. But we figured that was the best use to get the audio-visual equipment so that everybody could use it for the community, and just the cleanest way to get it through without, there's a lot of complications of running a warrant article for the town and for the school. So we just kind of felt that was the best way to approach that. And again, it's a separate warrant article, it's not for our budget.
Right.
Our budget, just kind of as a FYI, there's no new programming within the budget. We're just, keeping status quo, everything that we're running. We do have a teacher's contract this year, which, you know, we did successfully negotiate a contract with the teachers, there is one on the warrant.
Oh, good.
So that is, obviously a separate, doesn't include wages, our budget won't include wages because of the contract. We have, you know, the capital stuff that we talked about last year, for a warrant article, it's pretty small this year, the, capital warrant article, just because it's the first year of that cycle that we had talked about. We have some capital items, maintenance items in our budget, which is also something Jeff had talked about last year. And the other article that kind of comes up is something, we'd like to thank, Chief Skloot and Sergeant Remillard for, coming to us with, a partnership of school resource officer. I believe this is something that they've spoken with, like Mike about and stuff, that it's come up in the, as this process. The board and the administration is, in favor of this. So what we would like to do is have a warrant article, to put a school resource officer in the school. It's a really good, the police department is more than generous with it, with us. We'll pay, you know, our third of it. And like I said, we feel it's a great, you know, I personally think it's a really good idea. I think it's wonderful. So we're, gonna present that as our other ballot article. So just kind of, that's pretty much what our warrant looks like.
Okay.
I mean,
Can you give me the date of your budget hearing again?
Sure, February 6th, 6 p.m.
February sixth, which is a Wednesday.
Yeah.
you won't put that on, we can put that on Hot Topics if you want.
Sure. Sure, and we have a school board meeting directly following that. At which point we'll finalize our warrant and our budget and get it to you at that point.
I keep reminding my neighbor, the time to really debate issues is at this, is coming for him. And it's kind of difficult to debate them at this school board meeting with the large one in March.
Right,
And,
right.
So, I like to get the word out, if you wanna attend and debate things, that's really a great forum to discuss it.
Right, yeah, definitely, and that's where we have time to adjust things based on public comment, you know, so the more public comment we get, it's certainly welcome, you know, at the budget hearing, so.
I don't see it on the agenda tonight, Mike, is there gonna be more talk about this?
Chief, do you wanna talk about this a little bit more, or do you, like, it's under review, it's hitting some of the other, my fellow board members are relatively new, because this is a relatively new, this concept of having this officer.
Within 10 minutes, relatively new.
There's some issues about the dollar figures.
Okay.
We have to we have to have a meeting of the minds. The police department's gotta work with us, with Lean. We just gotta, make sure the numbers are all straight. There's a discrepancy in some numbers, and we just gotta iron that out, and I think that can be done.
Yeah, and ours is, you know, with our warrant, it's adjusted, you know, we can adjust, you know, based on, you know, I've already, spoken with Sergeant Remillard that we can work that, you know, once we go to our budget hearing, you know, that's where we adjust all those things based on input from public and as you guys look at things and stuff like that.
And I'm gonna address this a little bit to the chief too. The concern is, chief, is that the concept is good, but once what we're doing is, if I can capture it, we're taking a part-time officer who's a well-skilled officer, who's got background in not only school, but only as a detective too. And we're gonna bring her up as a full-time officer, and that's kinda like I won't say a budget buster, but that just was not budgeted for in our side. Because there are hidden costs which are not always, shall we say, visible. And I'm gonna talk about the hidden costs: New Hampshire retirement, social security, overtime, healthcare benefits, all those things now start to get rolled over. And the thing is, so numbers were run by, we got some numbers run by the police department, got some numbers by Lean. There's a difference, and we need to iron that out ahead of time. And before we make an agreement.
So we may have a new number to give you, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing is, I want that to be worked out, it doesn't have to be worked out tonight in this, with a, you know, shady pencil and I.
Oh, well, and that's what the budget hearing is for,
Yeah.
is for that kind of thing, and one of the purposes for pulling it out as a separate warrant article is to start getting that public comment and, you know, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure
Yeah.
that if you have amount in your budget, that it's enough to cover all the costs, because we wouldn't be able to take it out of our budget. I just
Right.
wanna make sure the
And-
combined.
Yep.
And the thing is, this concept has not even been brought. The idea of bringing up even hiring a new police officer as part-timer, And that would, we would avoid, creating that, you can almost afford 2 police officers, part-timers, rather than having one turn into a full-timer. But the thing is, there's a couple options we can pursue, and I'm not in favor of any one particular one. I want the best avenue for the town, the best quality we can get for the town. And so that's my personal thoughts, but I got 2 other gentlemen here who wanna hear more about it, and they need to chime in too. So I'm only one of 3. So if, I don't know, we're at a position right now where we really can't make a comment per se, because I know a little
Well, that's
bit.
why we're having this conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I need Bob and Dave to get up to speed on the proposal, and I'll leave it at that for them.
Yeah, cause we just heard about it, so we don't even know what,
You know, within just a few minutes I heard about it, my only thought was, we brought Brian along last year and made him into a full-time officer. We went through a couple different programs with him this year to get him up to, to the full-time officer status, and a couple other courses. And my only thought was, even though a portion of this person's, employment is already here with the town, bringing another officer to a full-time status, so quickly after doing that with Brian, might make some people, even though it's gonna look like it's fully funded, it may make some people, say, what are we doing here? Go with another full-time officer, even though the funding is gonna be covered. So I think that we've gotta look at it real close and make sure we do it the right way.
And, the funding covered is just, instead of the one pocket, you take it out of the other pocket, it's still your pockets.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's still-
End of the day, it's still the tax rate at the end of the day.
I mean, this select board backed Brian going to, become a full-time officer. And, I think all of us started off with, maybe not wanting to go with another full-time officer, and after we heard the chiefs and Officer Remillard's, proposal to us, we all changed our mind and we backed them last year, and I'm not sure that, having another one so soon is gonna be a full-timer, even though, they're already in our system now, is the right timing. But I guess, we'd like to hear the rest of the numbers and everything, cause like Bob said, it's very new to all of us, I never heard of it before.
So, if Chris, I understand you did some of the numbers?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to set up a time where you and Lean can sit down without interruption. She gets interrupted too many times.
Sure.
And just review the numbers. And the
Absolutely.
thing is, let's come to a consensus of what the numbers should be and should not be.
Right.
And I think that would be the first starting point. And then the next week, I'd like to maybe come in and we can discuss those numbers. And we can have those ahead of next week, next week's meeting, so we don't want to delay on this, because this is coming into the time crunch. Chief, go ahead.
Prior to yesterday, this was a constant.
Oh, yeah.
The school they had their meeting yesterday and they decided to back this. That's when it became something.
So it's new to everybody.
I didn't realize that she was gonna speak in front of the board the following day. I hope to have a week so that I could bring the other members up to speed, and I've spoken to you about it. And basically, there is no money in my budget, in the police budget this year, to fund this position. There shouldn't be an increase on the town's part at all. This is something that's, it's a school issue, and they should, according to our calculations, they should bring enough funds to be able to convert the position from part-time to full-time without impacting the town side of the budget.
And
That's the way it's supposed to.
And the thing
that's
is, and it's so new, I think is, I just don't wanna wait too late in the budget process. The school board wants to get on the warrant, I think we have to get our numbers straight. I think is, if we can start that meeting off for next week, if you can arrange that, and then next week we can bring it up for discussion again. If any information papers you can generate on it,
I'll send you my availability.
okay, and we just wanna get this ball rolling, make sure we're informed, so we can make the right decision.
yeah, cause as Dave said though, you brought on a new full-timer, and the police department made some concessions in order for that to work, and so it kinda looks bad, when we're hearing other residents might start to complain, so.
I have the same feelings when I first heard about this concept, and that's why I could not bring that proposal in front of the,
That's fine, as long
board
as
to increase the budget.
We're all open about it, we're starting to work on it.
Yeah,
I do
and-
agree that if we're gonna have an officer in town, there's no better place for them to be at than the school, with everything that's happened with these small schools, so.
And, okay, we'll leave it at that, and Deb, I wanna say thank you for coming in. And, I'd like to we'll keep you informed on the process and share the numbers with you, as soon as we get some firm numbers, we'll all agree, agreement on numbers, we gotta share that with you.
Okay, yeah, and like I say, this was a new concept for us, you know, it was brought to us, as part of our budget process, and I apologize, chief, if, you know, it was like premature to bring it forward, but,
Just timing,
Well,
You know,
it's just, yeah,
it's just one of those things where, you know, we wanna try to keep that open communication, and we didn't want it to be, you know, discussed without us bringing it forward.
okay, no, it's great. I'm
Because
very
again,
happy
it's a
with
new
that.
concept, and we're not sure how it's gonna, you know, it's a little uncommon at an elementary school. You know, we do get the crossover with the middle and high school, cause this person would service all our students regardless of what school they're at. But, so, yeah, you know, we can keep talking, and like I say, that's what the whole budget process is about, is to talk about these kinds of things.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
thank you for coming in, and,
Thank you, Deb.
we'll publish that information online, as the date, time group for your, budget meeting.
okay,
Yeah, make that happen. Okay, continuing on, Chief, why have you here? Just we're in receipt of your information paper. We will use that in some of our budget deliberations and some of our things of the great information paper, thank you. This is referencing how you utilize, comp time, remember we had that?
The
Not
on-call
comp time, excuse me.
supervisor?
Yes,
The on-call supervisor.
on-call
yeah.
supervisor.
I have another question too. We're getting near that time of year where some people like to register their unregistered vehicle with rubber checks. So how are we coming with that dilemma?
We need the packet back, the bad check packet.
Who has it now?
I believe it was given to Linda. I'm not sure of the status of it. Laura sent it, I believe,
Okay,
so.
And the courts and the prosecutors are they're very reluctant to become, collection agencies for either
Right.
businesses or municipalities, so.
And I understand,
So,
but
it-
this is a
it's not
multiple times, it's
I
not
totally
the
understand.
first time it's carried to a felony level. And we're coming to that time of year again where the gentleman or woman is gonna come in and register again and probably produce another check, you know, even though we asked for cash. And so, you know, I just don't wanna see it continuing.
Neither do I. We need to present that to our prosecutor.
could you follow up with Linda on that, to see where we are with that? Would you be so kind, to the town clerk? Let's see, so she was supposed to prepare some information for you for action? Potential
There's a
action.
package that has to be filled out. The statute requires certain information and then, some action on our part for banking records. It's not a very simple process, it's a
Okay.
very complicated process.
But I think, Bob has, spot on, he doesn't wanna see history repeat itself.
I don't blame him.
Okay,
I don't
Okay.
blame him a bit.
anything else, gentlemen?
Nope.
Okay, we'll keep moving on. All right, next item, we have, revenues. Let's talk about revenues this year. Or lack thereof.
Do you have,
I'm sorry?
do you have anything else?
No, I appreciate you coming in. I just, I went off on a little detour because I wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to.
It's all good.
Okay, Lean, you have the floor on this.
alright, so before you have the, what I present in my, discussion for revenues. The revenues are used to offset the, impact of the taxes. So these, items here listed are on a condensed sheet. I'm just gonna run through every single line. You can see that column 7 was what we budgeted for 2018. Column 8 is what we actually collected for the year, and column 11 is what I'm proposing for 2019's revenues. So 2018, we had budgeted 60,000 for current use land use change tax. We collected 97,750, and that's actually 50% of what we collected. The 50% is allocated to the conservation, and that's diverted into a liability account. This year, proposing a flat $60,000. I don't see a lot of lots out there that have potential for disqualification, so that may be a little bit high, but overall, I think 60,000 is a,
You don't think it's too high? Because we know no subdivisions anymore.
I know of one subdivision with 3 lots, that are out there, so,
I think if we're gonna bring motor vehicle permits up further down, jumping ahead, we can go back and discuss it later, but we might wanna bring that down just a little bit, only because,
we don't see any
although it's
potential.
only probably 6 lots, so Mike.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Only 2 of those 3-lot
So
subdivisions. would be up.
typically, a current use penalty would run at 10,000 to
Yeah, 10 or
15,000,
11, yeah,
and then we get 50% of that.
right.
So that would have to be, 6,
We can look at it later
Okay.
anyway, as we go down
Alright.
through your budget, but.
we can address that. Okay, land, yield tax, that is based on timber tax, again, we've always budgeted $10,000, we came in just under what we had budgeted. Again, when you look at timber tax, once you've harvested it, it doesn't get harvested again for another, 50, 100 years. I left it at $10,000, again, the board can decide to leave it at flat, or we can reduce or review that again. Payment in lieu of taxes,
What is that, Lean?
that's actually, there's about $3,000 that we received from the flood control. But included with that are the NSF check charges and other small fees that the tax collector might charge, and it's not a tax per se to land tax, but it is a tax that is incurred because of the cost that they either bounce the check or something, so they have to be paid a penalty. So I left that at $3,000. Again, in the past, we did leave it 0. I see that with the combination of the land use tax and other incidentals throughout collection, that we probably could insert a number there, so I've inserted a $3,000 amount. Interest and cost on properties, again, that is a combination of interest from taxes late,
Pay payments.
and then that's pretty much just with tax collection. Interest and cost with liens, I left that flat with 11,000, again, we came in a little bit higher. Again, this all based on late payments on taxes. The next 3 items, other costs, excavation, and motor vehicle, well, I'll just go with those 2 items. That's usually left blank, because there's no guarantee that we'll have fees that we collect for those lines. And under the next category, the yellow highlighted, that's category 3220, that's all combined with motor vehicles. The system breaks it out independently for the decals, the motor vehicle permits, the titles, and the E-reg convenience. The code that's in the system combines it together, so we budget it typically under one group number. Last year we budgeted 600, this year we came in at over 720,000, so I've increased that by 50,000. Again, that's a gamble. Motor vehicle permits, which is the biggest revenue there, you'll get a higher revenue when you have new vehicles registered, so the board can decide to reduce it or.
Mandate everyone buy a new car this year.
Yeah, that's the only thing that you have to keep in mind, is if you increase it too much, any of these numbers that are projections, if you don't collect what you budgeted, then you end up using surplus, because you still have to raise that money to set your taxes. So I set that one at $650, that's a little bit less than what we collected overall. Building permits, again, they've been coming in pretty strong. We set it typically at the $30,000, this year we came in a little bit higher at $32,888, so I've set that at $30,000 for a projected number.
Could that be still do the subdivision though?
That really, the biggest revenue in that area are septic reviews and building permits for new homes.
We may have to look at that.
We've been pretty lucky as far as what we've been receiving. I don't see that, when we don't have new homes, typically people will get put on additions or garages and that type of thing. Next group, the category is the 3209, again, it's part of the, town clerk's revenues. We typically, budget just the flat $10,000, you can see how the system breaks it out for itemized, categories, and we collected, just about $13,000 this year through those accounts, and I left that at a $10,000, proposed budget for revenues for 2019. Next category, FEMA other, we collected 1,111. Those are typically, anything that we would apply for grants and other reimbursements. Those are not guaranteed, so we typically leave that blank. Highway block grant, last year I budgeted 90,000, we came in at 101, 685. That is a combination of, the extra, I think it was the highway block,
Came in November, didn't it?
right? But it was a little bit higher, but if you look at, did I put it in your basket, the payment of the highway block grants? The selectmen's basket?
I do not believe so.
I didn't see it in there.
Because that has, it looks like the two payments that are coming at the, see, the highway block works from June to July. So the first two payments are usually a little bit smaller than the last two payments, and next year's adjusted last payments are coming in lower than what we've had before, so I left it at a flat budget of 90,000. I don't anticipate we're gonna get more than 92 if we get the full amount that they're projecting. Flood control reimbursement, again, we've typically budgeted at 70,000. We came in a little bit higher at 77,345. I left next year's projection at 70,000. Rooms and meals, again, we had it budgeted at 135 for 2018. We collected 144,651. That's all based on businesses, and I left that at 135. That's set by the DRA when we set the tax rate. Income from departments, that is category 3401, which encompasses about 8 or 9 accounts, and it's broken out within the department. Overall, we came in just over our budget amount. And then recycling, which is part of that group, was 2,000 over the
Income
budgeted.
from departments is what?
So that would be anything that we sell through, see, the categories are 3501, so that goes down through cable franchise, special duty police, admin, commercial haulers, police income, so it encompasses all of those accounts. And you can see that the transfer station fees, they collected 15,349, and then police department, special duty admin, that alone was, those two numbers is 29,027, so we came in above our $30,000 budget, so I've left it at that 30,000, and then recycling income, I left it at the 30,000. Sometimes Woody will, give the board some information as to what he's feeling is, going to happen with the coming year for his recycling income.
I thought it was kinda grim when it came in.
Yeah.
Where did you hear that? I thought you were kinda grim with the projections for this year, it's gonna cost more.
Yeah, this is the revenue side
Yeah,
that they.
no, I know, but the thing is, but if you can't sell it for that much money, it's, you not.
Okay, all right. Moving down to 3501, that's strictly the sale of cornerstones, we leave that blank. 3502 is interest on deposits. We typically budget $1,000. The treasurer has been trying to be creative with her investing, and she's been able to increase that typical $1,000 amount another $1,700. So I left that as a flat $100. Rent for town property, we have in the past, we're unsure whether the rent would still come in at the 12 months, so we had budgeted at 50%. He did pay this full 12 months for this 2018 year. I've budgeted it for another full year, the board can look at that and decide whether we wanna,
Is that the one by Kimball Pond?
that's correct. But the conservation has told us that once that renter is not able to continue to rent, that they will raise the building and make it go away, so that is income that will go away at some point. So our 2018 total revenue budgeted was $1,094,700, that's the number that we used to present to the voters in March. We came in at $1,332,489, which is an excess of revenue of $237,789. So with that number there, that's what you will see increase the overall surplus of our budget, because we projected one number and we had excess of that. The proposed new budget with the numbers that I presented to you tonight come in at $1,150,400, and that is $55,700 higher than 2018.
Lean, the only ones I see are the same ones Mike saw too. The land use changes, I think we ought to be on the safer side, maybe bring that down to 40,000.
Okay,
I was gonna say 50, that's all right.
I think
And because
40 only cause, the lots will be limited, I think, this year.
yep,
And I think we should plan for it in advance instead of later.
so we're not using our surplus?
Right,
Okay, so is everyone in agreement with that? 40 is a good number?
Sure.
Okay,
and the only other one I think Mike's right. I think we ought, even though we might have come in year after year at 30,000,
for building permits?
I think we should drop that one to 20, only for the simple fact with the interest rates going up and the economy being in a little bit of turmoil in the first part of this year, I think it might slow down just slightly.
You think so? Okay.
I'm
So-
seeing it in my business already, so.
Okay, and 20,000's a number you'd like to be?
I think that way with their, we're at a safer revenue amount coming in next fall as well.
Okay.
What do you guys think about that?
I thought, I was gonna go like 25, just to give us a buffer, because it'd still be 7,000 less than we collected this year.
Right. But,
20,
you know, we
25.
had a big subdivision
That's what
going very steadily this year,
And
and
they
we're
sold
not gonna have that.
No, not at all. We have a few, 2 or 3 subdivisions, that's, I mean,
Right.
small ones, 2 or 3 lots.
So I think that we should bring that to 20 and be safer with it.
Bob, I'm happy with that, what about you?
Yeah, I already got it marked in.
Okay, 20K it is.
I'd probably be a lot easier.
I didn't see anything else in there that we could look at.
So
Okay.
estimate instead.
All right, so that will bring our projected 2019 revenues down to $1,120,400.
Yeah.
Question for Woody. Woody, what's the recyclables, are they still staying consistent, or is there a dramatic change?
They're changing all the time. One minute they're down, one minute they're up, they're all over the place. Steel just took a $30 a ton drop. And I have a load of cardboard that we're gonna ship that just went up, $29 a ton. So it's all over the place, there's nothing, if anything, I would err on the side of caution. You know, some of the stuff, like I said, it does trend down this time of year anyways, but I just don't know. I mean, it's all over the place, one minute it's here, it's there,
Just keep it on the Main Street.
you know, I definitely would.
So
I mean,
it's been that way for this past year anyhow.
yeah, it's been all over the place. You know,
So
I looked
maybe
at,
that is a good number to use
Yeah.
at
I
this
looked at
time.
some numbers in January of last year, for, of 18 on cardboard, and it was 115, and then now it's 89.
But all those numbers still 10, almost 10, 8 or 9% lower than we actually
Right.
collected, so I think that's still good. Gives us a little buffer, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy. Gentlemen, any last questions before we move on?
No, I think that's good, we've increased the revenue amount.
Okay, I just wanna,
So you're changing that.
Kept it steady.
Change that one number.
yeah,
Yeah,
So
30,000.
yeah, reducing it 30,000, so it's 1,120,400, and I'll make those changes.
so it goes up, basically 25,000.
Yep, 25,700.
Okay. Warrants now.
All right, so you have before you warrants. As you are familiar, anytime there's a zoning amendment, those articles have to go on a ballot, but they're also shown on the warrant, and they come before the operating budget. So the, planning board has, proposed 3 changes for their, zoning. They're, really pretty much, administrative. 2 of them are definition, corrections, and the first one is, allowing the planning board to insert, the RSA's into our zoning as amended, because they do change at the, state level, and it would be easier for us to have it adopted so that we can continue to include the RSA's with, any changes that,
And just to let you know, 2 years ago it was added that they could add, 3 years ago, it was put in there by warrant, they could add them, but somehow no one ever had the warrant addressed, they could take them out. So this one allows you to add it and take it out, there's the old warrants would still be in there, but you couldn't remove them from the,
Well, I could see assert and amend, but why do you need to remove them?
some of them, they change and they don't apply anymore.
But that would be an amended one at that point, wouldn't
And, right, but the language 3 years ago did not address that.
it? Right, so I'm asking about the removal part of it.
again, they'll have their public hearing, and they will have the full language of the, which will probably increase these articles here with more language.
Yeah, it's,
I just wanted
this
to-
is not the full language. It's gotta go by legal too,
Mhm.
which has not happened yet. The only reason I know a little bit about it was I was there when they were drafting them. And the other 2 are definitions where there's been gray areas in the past, and it helps out the zoning board, because it helps the, set definitions when it comes to, setbacks and structures. And, I think there was an issue here with solar panels. And, houses that, cavalier, like, the basement may be within the setback, but it kinda like, the way they build it, it extends beyond the setback.
So Article 5 becomes the operating budget,
Right,
and I will fill in those, line by line item totals. And after the board has had their workshop.
number 6 was the,
Number 6 is the standard, revaluation capital reserve deposit. We're getting ready to, have another, statistical reval in 2020. So the Board of Assessors will be putting that out to bid in 2019. And just for the board's information, the ratio of our property values right now is at 80%. And the Department of Revenue likes to see that at 100%. Hence the reason for going through reval, so, we'll be doing that in 2020. The impact of the 14,000 based on today's current property assessment is 5 cents. Article 7 is to raise and appropriate 40,000 to be added to the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve. Impact of taxes on that item is 13 cents.
Back to number 6, Lean,
Yeah,
it's $14,000.
correct, that's
How
what,
much should we put in last year?
14. It's been 14 ongoing, we took the wholes,
And they do it every 5 years.
right.
And the 14 over 5 years covers it, or is?
Yeah, statistical is not as expensive as a full-blown reval, and the Department of Revenue originally said that they mandated a full-blown reval, and I think the towns, pushed back because it's just a very costly, over $100,000 to do a full-blown reval. So they find that with the software that they have now, they've been able to do the statistical and meet the guidelines of the
In
DRA.
2020?
Pardon?
when?
2020 will be the
Right.
reval year. So we have this deposit, they'll be putting it out to bid in, 2019, and then they'll start implementing it by the end of the year into
And
2020.
the total sum of the, how much do they actually need total sum, it should be in the.
That's again is as a bid. If they don't get enough, then they'll probably be before the, voters to get more money next year. but I don't know that that will happen, because it's been pretty consistent that the past few years that, let me see here, I'm working with too many departments here, I know they, what they have,
Close to 100K, it looks like.
oh, yeah, yep,
Okay, don't, I understand, that's fine.
okay, I can probably have that ready for
All
you,
right, that's fine. Number 7 was what the fire chief asked for.
correct?
And one thing I wanna point out to my fellow colleagues here, remember we have people come from the floor all the time. Can we reduce it $10,000? And just, it's like nickel and dime in the budget. I think if we're gonna come to a recommendation, either we're gonna be in favor or we're gonna against it, but it's like 3.5 cents for every 10,000 we're talking about. And it's, you know, basically, you pay me now, you pay me later, it's not gonna, amount to much, and more of a hassle, as you would tell me, you said it's
Correct,
a major hassle to just.
Right, so when the board decides on a number for a warrant that you wanna propose to the voters for deposit or withdrawal, it should be an agreed amount, so that hopefully whomever is speaking on it, explains to the taxpayer that this is the norm, this is what we're requesting, and there's an end goal of the capital reserve total that we're looking for. And to adjust it on the floor is just negligible as far as what it will save the taxpayer for.
Well, it's almost.
It may be, but if you're the taxpayer, that's their right, so.
Oh, absolutely, but I think.
For us to even talk about it's a waste of time, because they're gonna do it regardless.
Right, but the thing is,
True.
it's like, I'm a hero because I lowered the tax rate 10,000, I mean, lowered the bond $10,000, but in reality, it does nothing in the
I know,
end.
but we're not gonna stop that.
No, but the thing is, we can speak to it though. In other words, when someone comes up and proposes it, we can be, like, we're gonna be either voting for or against it.
Yeah,
Well, I know
we'll
there
do
was-
that. We're gonna
Yeah.
do that.
I know
in
there was one
advance.
year that we were really concerned about the increase of the taxes, and Bob said, ask the departments, let's reduce your warrants now and today, just so that we can give a break to our taxpayers.
Right.
And it went well that
Yeah,
way.
there was, I think we were trying to address a lot of things, and I think Woody's department and.
Fire
department.
John
Yeah.
Wiggins,
Yep,
they amended the warrant article to
Here
be
it-
less,
right,
so
We
that we
always
could,
keep flat
we
every
could
year.
do something, you know?
Flat level, even or under services.
Okay,
But in the end, if we don't raise the money and they need a truck, we're gonna take the brunt of it
and that tax year, and that's what that's the whole purpose of the capital reserve.
right. So that's what John Wigan asked for, that warrant article is 13 cents on the, tax rate impact based on 2018 property assessment. Number 8 is a deposit of 30,000 into the highway capital reserve. And that was bumped up a little bit from prior years because the following article, speaks to it that he needs a certain dollar amount to make a purchase of a new truck. And that Article 8 is 10 cents on the tax impact. Article 9 is to raise and appropriate $171,000 to purchase a new international truck for the highway department and to fund the appropriation by withdrawing up to 171 from the highway capital reserve fund. So that's where the deposit of 30,000 in the previous article gives him enough money so that there's no impact when he's withdrawing it, and he's got the funds in the capital reserve to make the purchase he needs to make. So there's no impact on taxes. Article 10 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 for additional costs associated with paving Ray Road.
I heard rumors from the road agent, the grumblings, that that's gonna be more than 100, he may have to ask you to raise that amount.
You did?
Yes, somehow I heard that
No.
100K is not enough.
No, he
No,
doesn't
no,
do
he
that.
said that he will more than spend 100,000 and the remainder will come from his budget.
Okay,
And what his concern was in the past is that the third time around for Grapevine Road, he ended up having $9,000 lapse into the general fund because he didn't need it all, and he could have used it in another part of his
No, I
budget.
thought we weren't gonna designate a road, he was gonna designate that at paving, and now I see Ray Road in there. And so, he wanted to do that, so
Right.
he didn't have something like the $9,000
Right.
lapse into that.
Now, I talked to him about that,
oh
and,
yeah,
but,
I hear you saying.
but that's why he said that if we add the road in this situation, this project that he's proposing for his, 2019 road projects is going to exceed the 100,000.
Okay, so he didn't worry about it, cause it's gonna exceed.
Correct.
That's what I think I heard. Yeah, but I see what you're saying, if we had Ray Road and other roads as deemed needed.
Yeah, we were
Right.
just supposed to put the paving of the road on there, is what I thought we were
Yeah.
gonna start doing.
I mean, I can reconfirm it with them, but,
Reconfirm with it, cause I think it's a generic line item that the taxpayers have come to know that we use it for the paving of the road
right.
in order to not bring his budget up any further.
So what are you proposing, just taking the
Just
words?
just
The-
Ray
break
Road
it
out?
off.
Taking the road name off of the,
All right, I will check with him on that, and then again, we'll have to have it reviewed by town council.
And
so
then-
that it's-
then-
and he can always speak to the road.
Yeah,
There are other roads that people always request, remember we had a request from other roads in town to be paved, and thing is, there's a public hearing in the spring that,
Right,
and Jeff
and it
asked,
comes after the meeting, so
yeah,
if it's paving, he could maybe adjust some of his budget.
if
at that
needed,
time.
yeah, or it'd be programmed for the following year if there's a consensus.
okay,
Okay,
all right,
Love
good point, and that way you have $100,000 for
I
paving,
would
and
feel
if
those
there's
are all standard.
another May flood, then he has the flexibility to use it elsewhere.
Yeah, the rest are all the ones we talked about, the milfoil and whatnot. Yep.
So 11 is 20,000 to be added to the capital reserve fund for the transfer station vehicle or capital equipment. I did talk to Woody, he said that that is a fair amount. Again, the purchase of his vehicle almost depletes the entire
Okay.
capital reserve, so it's important that we get money back into it. This does cover equipment, he's got a lot of moving equipment that could cost quite a bit, and it would be a wise thing.
well,
for-
and the thing is, it covers any piece of equipment that would break in during the course of the year.
Right, you'd have to approach the, wait until town meeting, but at least the money would be there to
Right,
help fix it. So that's a 6 cent impact. Article 12 is to raise and appropriate the sum of $16,010 to be added into the invasive plant species capital reserve fund, with this amount to come from unassigned fund balance surplus. Now, I did confirm the numbers that I had with the auditor, and we were in agreement, what we raised in 2018. Leaves $16,010, so that has to be earmarked to be deposited into that capital reserve. So there's no impact to taxes on that Article 12. And then Article 13 is to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $16,928 for milfoil control at Gorham Pond. Authorize the selectmen to accept the grant from the state of New Hampshire DES, the amount of $4,232, known as the variable milfoil control grant, and use $130 from unassigned fund balance surplus, and to withdraw $12,566 from the invasive species capital reserve fund established for this purpose. So there is no impact to the taxes for this article as well.
Total of 63 cents, it looks like.
For all the articles,
Yeah, that's all right.
I didn't add them up, but you might be right. I got 66, is that what you came up with?
3.
I have 66.
You got 6 cents on the last page, and 32, that's 38. 10 is 48. 58. Oh yeah, you already is 66, I did have that pretty back in, yep.
66 cents.
Yeah.
So 66 cents total tax increase.
Yep. Did you have anything that you wanted me to add to this? I know that my next item is discuss solar proposal.
no, just for the review for the board, if something, if we get a petition warrant, and how, just to review for the board how that would go, especially if it has a dollar value impact.
Okay, so I learned from past experience that, the petition warrant articles are deadline for anyone to propose a warrant article for the Board of Selectmen is the Tuesday before our typical scheduled budget discussion. So it's not wise to have your budget before that date, only because if there's any dollar amount associated with the petition warrant article, then you have to have it,
What's that date, Lean?
that would be Tuesday, the February 5th, I believe it is. So
Okay,
February 5th is petition warrant articles. I have the proposed budget hearing scheduled for the 7th, and then the snow date scheduled for the 15th.
And these are gonna be posted in the Concord Monitor when?
I'll probably put those in at the latest date that I can, which would be the Sunday, the, 14 days.
We're gonna have that in this office right here?
This is where we hold it, yep.
Okay.
Just like last year, we have to go through the budget line by line.
I didn't know if you wanted to have a new town hall meeting or.
Oh, jeez. The new one?
Days.
Okay.
I'll probably put that in on the 13th or the 20th to give myself the 14 days, on a Sunday. I'll put it in the Sunday paper.
Okay. Good, let's talk about the solar panels now.
So, my question for you is, if last meeting you guys were uncertain as to whether we should do this as a warrant or do it as a, part of your operating budget?
What was the total cost to the town over the years?
You still have the
I didn't bring.
the
it.
warrant in the, did we, oh, he's still here.
See,
It's got his ear
I know,
behind
gotta see if I can-
After looking at the numbers.
Solar panels.
Dana, do you wanna speak on that?
Ends up being the savings.
No, I'm just here to
To list-
take questions or clarifications.
So would you say that the correct number that we'd have to, I guess I'm a little confused. As a warrant article, would you ask for the whole amount to be deposited into capital reserve? Or would you ask for 1 year? Or, I guess I don't know the options that you,
One of the options I was thinking,
I would think the whole amount and then divided by the years to come forward.
I was thinking, make it part of our budget, but take the savings we generated and just start creating a capital reserve fund with the savings generated. In other words, we're gonna be paying, if we do nothing, we're paying an electric bill. And every year, we're gonna get we're gonna be continuing to pay an electric bill, but we'll be offset a little bit. And, we'll be offset by the monthly or yearly check? Yearly check. So at the end of the year, I would like to sweep that money that we get in savings
As a revenue.
as a revenue into a capital reserve fund to set aside for the solar panel.
So we still need a warrant article to create the capital.
No, we do
reserve.
not, I don't think so.
that you can start in the year that you have money to put in there.
Right.
We don't have any money to put in there yet.
Well, we would in 2019 at the end of the year. So we need to do it on this calendar year warrant article.
Okay, I guess I'm confused about that part.
We get a check at the end of the year for the savings, so as soon as those solar panels are up and running.
You can't put any deposit into a capital reserve until you have the money in your hand.
Right,
Right, so I'm saying, that you're gonna get a check at the end of.
when do we anticipate first?
You have to go into March of 2020.
We don't receive a check, I don't think, till after the 7th year, correct?
No,
No, you get it every 12 months. You
Every
get a,
12 months?
yeah, and what happens is it first offsets all of your Eversource bills first, and then if there's excess, then there's actually a check.
Yeah, but that is at the 7th year, like Bob said, right?
No, every 12 months there's a true up done.
Okay,
that's where I was getting the money.
Yeah, but listen, there's a true up, but right now we're just gonna pay. Right now, we're just paying a fee, cause the company is paying up front for it.
You're gonna be paying $815 to the company.
Right.
Your Eversource bills are gonna be 815 or more less than what they are today. And so through the year, you're gonna
So
find,
the true up is only the difference between the 815 and our actual Eversource bill for the first 7 years.
yeah, every year, it's
Right.
gonna look,
So for the first 7 years, our Eversource bill minus the 815 is the true up number that the town's gonna receive
yes.
for the first 7 years. So, Bob, you are somewhat right, other than that true up number.
okay, so we don't have to put up any money?
No, the true up number's not gonna be very substantial. You take our Eversource.
First year, it's tight, $30 a month,
Yeah.
Right.
360 a
Okay,
year.
right, okay.
Second year, it grows a
Well,
little
let me
bit.
see, there's no money there
Eversource
to
rate-
speak
Done,
of.
yeah.
Yeah.
If Eversource rates go up, that number keeps growing a little bit, but it's still not a,
But the biggest thing is just
Until you
gonna
hit the
offset.
seventh year, you don't really have any money.
It's
to
gonna
do.
offset,
Right.
you're right, okay.
Okay, so then I guess my question is, this $815 number, we have to pay that like a bill?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm fine paying that out of our normal expenses.
Okay, so then, what do we do, what happens to our regular electric bill, 815, is that like all of our buildings combined, or?
yes.
Okay,
All your Eversource bills, we would actually combine all of the bills together, so even though they're all listed as separate properties, they'd be separate pages.
yep,
Eversource allows you to have one single,
bill,
one
okay,
single bill,
okay,
and that bill will end up being approximately $845 less than what it is today,
okay,
every month.
okay,
Every month. So you're gonna generate kind of a surplus, operating surplus of about $30 a month in the first year.
Does signing the lease commit us to the actual purchase at the end of 7 years, or do we make the decision at the end of 7 years?
You can make the decision at the end of 7 years, but they have a provision, they'll have a provision in the contract that just says if you don't buy it from us, you just keep paying the $815.
Or we can ask them to remove it, take it home with it, if we don't want it.
I don't believe so.
So we buy it or keep leasing it?
Yeah,
Yeah, you either buy it or
For
keep this.
perpetuity.
Well, for 30 years.
No, that's what I need to know, because
So
that's, I'm thinking hypothetically, okay?
Yeah,
7 years is a long time, new technology comes along,
yeah, yeah,
and this is like, why, solar panels are now passé.
yeah.
Why are we stuck with solar panels? Do we have to buy them, or can we say, it's been nice relationship, we've leased them for 7 years, you can take them home now?
You'd have to pay the $50,000
Okay,
regardless.
it's at least a buy.
And then if you could sell those for
Okay,
51,000.
that's what I wanted to make sure,
Yeah.
we're obligated to.
Or
we're
40,000
locked
or
in.
whatever, yes,
We're locked in. Okay,
yes. You're not obligated to spend the 50, but they'll keep charging you the 815, which would
Right.
not be, at least with anticipated electric rates, it wouldn't be a prudent thing to do to keep paying them the lease.
The 50,000 is divided over the 7 years.
Yes, that's what you have to, that's what you have to have at the end of 6 years
Right.
to buy the thing out.
So.
It's
that's
like
what I
buying your
have the
leased
warrant
car.
article for.
for how much? I'm still confused, I budgeted $16,400 to pay our electric bills.
Right, and we're still paying $815 a month instead of $845. Okay, so you're still gonna get that all taken out of our expenses.
how expensive?
Okay.
So what I'm looking at is the $50,000 that we need at the sign of that lease through those years for the 7 years to be in a warrant article so the public knows what it is. that
Okay.
dollar amount.
So you can still, we're paying it out of the budget today, but you still wanna do a warrant article to,
Accumulate
You're
dollars to pay
confusing
lease.
the bill
Right,
with the lease.
Right, he wants to take the $50,000, which we're gonna be stuck with 7 years from now, and start accumulating dollars in a capital reserve fund to pay for that 50,000 in 7 years.
Just like we
from
do
now.
for a truck.
right,
Say a truck's gonna cost you 50,000
Yeah.
7 years, just like we're doing with Woody's, we're putting 20,000 aside. I wanna set $10,000 or
okay.
$8,000
So you're not looking for the full 50, you're looking for something to get,
every year, but I'd like it set up so that it's one of these warrant articles that's on here every year for those
Okay.
first 6 years, I would say.
alright,
That's
So if we
about
do the math out
8,300
for the 6 years,
About 8,300 a year you have to accumulate.
yeah, which is what he had on there, so, you know, maybe make a round number 8,500 so that we're not in the.
the last
red
year is
with
just
it.
a smaller amount.
Yeah, but the,
So you want me to add a new article?
Let's discuss this first.
Okay.
is
yeah.
the 50,000 any interest in there at the end of that, or is that flat amount?
That's flat.
Okay, so we'll do the math evenly then.
Just to give you the variables would be, I project we'd have about $3,000 of surplus, off the Eversource bills over that period of 6 years. So
Right, but
it's a
that's
small-
so, that's so minuscule, we're just gonna leave that in the.
That go in general
operating
fund.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah,
so small.
Right, it's a small number. If that rebate, comes true, that's 18 grand off of the 50. So then the final payout is only 32,
When will we know about the rebate?
probably this summer.
so we could adjust the amount on the warrant article when we know about that.
For the
Yeah,
future
you could
years.
adjust,
Yeah,
you could
first
adjust,
year,
you could
what-
adjust the future
First year, we'll
ones if
do
you
the
wanted.
8,300 lien, and the following years, if we get that 18,000
Solar,
back,
yeah.
there'll be
then it'd be less.
4,600 or whatever. it
Yeah,
comes out.
right.
Okay,
Bob, comment?
Well, and again, I'm thinking of doing the solar under our operating budget, but the purchase, and my thought was to let it go a year before you propose a warrant article, cause you have the people that support solar, and you have the naysayers, and you have the people that are in the middle that are gonna be drawn one way or the other. So after a year's time, when you can at least prove that you were successful with the operation of the solar
You
farm.
have no way to get out of it after the first year. Once you sign that lease, you own it. You're not,
Well,
if you don't put it in front of the voters now, the voters don't have a choice next year. It's gonna be automatic to the voter. You have to put it to the voter before you make the decision, not after.
No, cause you can make the decision in the 7th year, right?
No.
Well, you could choose not to buy it.
Right,
You
but
can choose
what
not
I'm
to-
saying
Which
is,
doesn't make any sense, cause that's
what
where
I'm
the town
saying
gets
though is you
revenue.
can make that decision in the 7th year. You can say, yes, we're buying it.
The beauty of it though, of waiting 1 year, you have proof of concept, you have real numbers. Now, this is all paper,
Yeah.
and some people are so
Yeah, but
doubting
these-
promises.
These numbers can't change. It's part of a.
No,
No, it's the reduction of the Eversource bill that I can only,
Yeah,
I
but
can
the
only
reduction of the
project.
Eversource.
right, right, and the thing is, you go to someone.
Everything else is real.
Yeah,
but
you
the-
go to someone and say, this is what we've done this year. And the thing is, for the next 4 years, this is the plan, and we've already got proof of concept that it works.
But follow me in my thinking.
Yeah,
The only thing you're gonna be able to prove from this year to next year is the difference between $845 Eversource bill and an $815 Eversource bill. Until you get to that 7th year, you have nothing that you can show to prove.
no, but after I can show that we are making money off this, we are making enough money to offset our
What are you
electricity.
gonna show them?
We're making that $815 off our electricity, we're making $800 of electricity. And then, the thing is, at the end of 7 years, the thing is, now that we're leasing this for the next 7 years, and then year
You're
7,
not making it, that's your bill.
no, we don't make anything till year 7, really.
Right, so your proof of concept next year is no different than your proof of concept this
We
year.
have no proof of concept, because we have paper.
The only thing you have at the end of 1 year is you will prove that the system is generating a certain amount of electricity. You will know that for sure, right? And
Well,
then-
it's
and-
sized to generate a certain amount of,
No, you know it will be, because you see those numbers.
You have real numbers.
You actually see the real generation, you know, in month 1, 2, 3, so by next March, you would know exactly what it's generating monthly for electricity. And if you take the costs, even like a 2% increase of Eversource over time, that means monthly you're getting, you know, $925. You're generating $925 of electricity out of a system that you have sitting there. And you can prove that, once you know it's generating, you can prove that number.
And once we own it, it's our electricity.
It's the town's electricity once it's owned, right?
Right.
And that
but what I'm
number,
saying is, once you sign that contract, you may as well not be bringing anything in front of the voters, because we're already gonna have it as a town.
That goes back to my question about
I want to do
what's
this
our escape
before.
clause.
is not buying it and just pay the $815, and you're still gonna have, there's still some residual benefit there,
Right.
but it's only the difference between 900 and 815.
Right.
You don't get the full benefit of
Right.
all
But
the
the
electricity.
kilowatt hours, if they go up, we're still making that amount of kilowatts, and we're paying less every
Yes,
year.
Yeah, so
Right,
instead of
that- that would
3,000.
continue to happen.
4,000, yeah.
that would continue to happen out to year 25.
I look at it, I think it's not that we, Dave, it's not that we disagree with the concept, it's just that I like the idea of proof of concept, that you sell the idea to the public, and sometimes, we have, as Bob said, there are naysayers out there, and we won't wanna spend a dime, afraid of putting anything on the table and, delaying it, I mean.
But realistically, we're putting very little on the table.
No, it-
so, let's
Do we
look
need a
at it
warrant?
this way, you just collected an additional almost 200 and something additional, 237,000. You could use your surplus to fund that
I
warrant
know what
article.
we can do, Lean.
Right, if you wanted to do it on a warrant, but you're concerned that it may be rejected at
Right,
voting,
If
use,
it's rejected, we need to sell it another year, then that's how it should be. That amount of money should go in front of the voters.
right,
If not, we should get more than one bid on it like we do on everything else. Whether we take the lowest bid or not, we should have more than one bid.
we did ask for more bids,
I know we did.
We didn't get it, no one wants to bid on it.
Well, as I look at it, we're supposed to be looking at, saving resources for townspeople as far as their taxes. It brings you a lower electric rate than you're paying now. I don't see a problem with going into it, because even going into the future, you're paying a lower amount than what it's gonna cost us as the cost of electricity increases. And we have the opportunity, my belief is, if you waited a year, you can show exactly what's happening with your panels, and it's easier to sell to the people that are in the middle. It's a lot easier to drag them on to we support solar than having the naysayers come in, make their spiels and.
If I was a voter, I'd stand up and say, why are you trying to sell me something you already bought? We already had this.
Well, you bought cheaper electricity.
That's what we're buying.
But you don't,
When they see that going up as a voter, I think that they should know what's going on. Whether we do it at a warrant article or a public forum, I don't think it should be done at the selectmen's level. The voters in this town should know what's going on, and not just a few people in the room, and not just a few people watching that video, is my thought. I think that if we don't do that, we're gonna get stepped on about it. People are gonna be pissed off. That's my thought on it, I think, So, I guess we can vote however you guys wanna vote, but my vote is to either do it on a warrant article or else have a public forum with a big meeting at that school over there, the elementary, in that forum, and whether you wanna do it before town meeting or after town meeting, I don't think that matters much, but I think that needs to happen.
If the voters voted down, we're screwed this time. If in 1 year we have proof of concept, even if they voted down next year, we have panels which are producing electricity at lower costs.
If they voted it down, it's gonna cost us a difference between $8.15 a month and $8.45 a month.
And then it's gonna, which way is electricity going down the road?
So we could put it back to them next year if we had to.
Right, but the thing is, I don't wanna keep going back and forth, back and back and forth.
but you wouldn't wanna go to them now and have them not understand it enough. Turn it
That's where
down.
you come in. You did a good job showing us all of it, and I think you could do a good job in front of the voters.
So what if I said, now, could you make this operational decision for I'll give you a fixed payment for 25 years of $815. And this will generate $845 on day 1 per month. And it's only gonna go up from there because Eversource rates will likely go up. They've already put in their bid for this year to go up.
But what you're gonna say,
And I can say that forever. Would you say that that's okay to have a surplus of $30 a month?
I understand your concept, and I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
I just think it needs to go to the voters before we, cause they're gonna go there to the dump, and they're gonna see these panels all there, and they're gonna say, how did those get there and why? And whether we explain it before they're there or after, we're gonna explain it somehow.
Do you have to go, if you were to lease something in the town that's worth about $800 a month, do you have to go to the voters to ask for that?
No.
And I'm gonna use an example. Why didn't we have a forum when we were talking about health insurance? Because that has more of a difference than the cost of solar. It has more of an impact on the taxpayer.
Per year overall.
Per year.
Per year. It has more of an impact on voters. I'm just using that as being a devil's advocate, using where we decide what we're gonna give our.
I don't know why we didn't have a forum, I didn't wanna change it.
No, but you know what I'm saying, Dave? We spend a big chunk of money there. When you look at the yearly total for health insurance,
Over
regardless,
100,000, yeah.
if you're saving 13,000, I'm sure that people don't wanna have to weigh in on every single decision we make. We're getting electricity for less than we're paying going forward. We're gonna pay less than what the escalated cost of electricity could be. And so I just,
But we're
Yeah,
putting,
even though
we're
we've,
putting the town in a binding agreement with a long-term project that I think they should know about ahead of time, so that's all I'm saying. It's a long-term project, it's not a truck lease that's gonna run out in 3 years, it's a long-term project.
We have to buy electricity from somewhere, we're
Right.
buying it from our panels.
See, the townspeople know where we're getting our electricity now. But when we change over how we're getting it, and they get it from the panels, we should make them aware of that.
Well, it's no worse than John came in last year, and John tried to show us that we asked him about, we were getting competing bids for other people's electricity to buy. So instead of going with another supplier, we are creating our own supplier in event, and for perpetuity, until the panels die. And without even buying them, we're still saving money. Not 30 years from now, at $30 a month, it goes up and up and up. And so the thing is, I think next year it'd be the perfect opportunity to sell it, because one, we're gonna get the potential of the grant in there. We can be more accurate in our costs, and 50,000 sounds like a lot, but if I came in with 38,000, I feel pretty good. I think it'd be even easier to sell next year, if we wanted
It's
to.
less than that.
32.
32, yeah, I stand corrected. But that's 32 and 50 is a big difference. And you can show up some numbers, real numbers, not just projected. Because if this is a flop, we say it's too cloudy over there, so we don't get the right angle, which, all the predictions said
That'd
we
be
will.
great to bring it in front of the voters then.
We
I'm gonna play this meeting right before we have it.
I like the idea of proof of concept first, and the thing is, that to have 1 year is not a big risk, and we have 7 years it'll be 6 years to accumulate enough money. Of $32,000 over 6 years is really not a lot of money to accumulate.
Well, 32 if we get the
Well, and
grant,
even
or
if
it's
they
50.
turned it down and you end up leasing it for the 25 years, you're not any worse off
Not any worse
than
off.
you were before.
You're not as good
That's my
off,
point.
but you're
We're
no
supposed to be
worse off.
looking at ways to save the town money, so we look at health insurance and say, okay, we're gonna go with this plan, we're gonna save a little grief there, but we're still spending a large, I'm only using that as an example, because it's a big number that you can put out there, that nobody has any influence over except for the selectmen spending their money. And this isn't that much different.
In fact, it's less.
As far as I'm concerned, it's not that much difference. It is a benefit to the town.
And next year, we can come up with a business case that, this has worked so well, if we buy these at the end of this period, we can make even more money.
Right,
Or save more money.
Save, yeah.
We're never gonna.
but you phrased it right, you're generating your own electricity. And, at year 7, it's $12,000 a year of your own electricity that you're generating. And you have to pay 50 to get that $12,000 a year.
Which is,
I think with the amount of research that you guys have done, and the clarity that you bring to it, it should be an easy sell to the voters, and I think it ought to be done in advance. And I'm just gonna stay on that track, and, it might only be $50,000, but it's a long-term thing, and I think that the voters should know ahead of time. If they turn it down, we're not any worse off.
well, the thing is, I'm not giving them anything to turn it down the first year. I'm saving taxpayer dollars the first year by engaging with this lease. I'm saving taxpayers dollars. And the thing is, does someone say, well, if they turn it down next year, I'm still saving, 20 years from now, I'm still saving taxpayers dollars by using this lease power. And it has no bearing on the 50,000. The 50,000 is a separate option. And that's how I view it, as an option to buy.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's an option to buy, and we don't have to exercise or make a decision on the option in year 1. We can wait till we have proof of concept, that the system works great, and then we can present it, and then say, we wanna exercise our option to buy, so we can do more savings. And that's how I view it, as an option to buy.
I think that's a great way to look at it, because at day 1, you're just offsetting a payment and you're getting that small $30 savings right now.
Right.
But that's like buying energy from another supplier.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And the only thing the town is at risk for, we're letting them use a little bit of real estate behind the burn pit. And that's the only risk we have, and that's not risky at all. And I heard Woody's gonna help make sure he puts a cement block so no one backs into it. So, that's the way I feel it, Dave. I feel that we can wait a year before we exercise our option.
Because
I'm telling you, once it's up, you may as well never bring it to them voters, because it's after the fact.
It's at
You've
least,
got them into a
but
long-term
it is a lease.
position,
at
and
first.
it's after the fact. It's a 30-year lease at that point.
is it, what's his escape clause?
They say 25, we could argue it as 20. It's gravy to them if we keep paying the 815.
Right, right.
They would love it, and they said 25 years just as a,
So it's
And then
we're going into a long-term lease.
yeah.
Just like, we've been in a long-term lease with Eversource for how long now? Or shall I say,
Yeah, for
100
how many
years?
years, yeah, since Thomas Edison.
Yeah, and what are some of the other some of the other
Well, I was
companies?
just gonna throw another thing out there. Suppose we decide to dump Eversource and go with a conglomerate that uses the gas-fired plants and gets your electricity for a little bit less. Then that we'd be into a commitment with another company, and certainly some of the residents would be upset with us, but,
But couldn't we change back to Eversource if we wanted?
you could if you wanted to,
At this.
but
we
not
won't
right
be able
away,
to.
not right away, cause you'd be locked into a period of time.
Yeah, but you can pay a small
My
amount.
concern is, we erect the panels, and the thing is, we have right now on paper only, we have an estimate of how much it's gonna generate. And that has not been proven yet. I need to know what the escape clause is if we don't generate enough, say, over an average, in other words, it's never gonna be perfect every day because of the weather conditions. But we should at least have an expectation of what we should be receiving from it. Would you agree? In other words, the same question, do we have an escape clause in the event that it doesn't, let's say we only get 25% of what's projected?
Well, you've looked at similar towns with similar size units. And have we done any one-year research on what they're producing as opposed to what they were projected?
Yeah, I mean, these projection numbers are,
Conservative or liberal?
these are conservative.
Okay.
It's gonna generate more than what we're projecting.
The things I look at you as a subject matter expert here.
Yeah, no, they're conservative. I mean, they just threw in, the higher power panels for no extra cost for the whole project. They went from 360 to 390 watts per panel. That just kinda gives you even more headroom, and we didn't change our projection numbers, the financial numbers for that, as far as what it would generate.
So you were based upon 360s?
The financials,
Yeah.
yes,
Okay, great. So
yes.
it could be $45 a month.
Sure, yeah, I mean, there's something there, right?
No, the thing is, okay, all right,
It is conservative. Just to back to your question, these numbers, there's been enough things put in place. It's like you buying a car, and what if if the car says I'm gonna get 22 miles to the gallon, how do you really know that car is gonna get 22 miles to the gallon? It's because they've sold thousands of those cars, and they know that that's probably what it's gonna do. Could it be 21.8, could it be 23, depending on your driving or your habits, and here it's talking about sunshine or tree shading. This site is one of the more perfect sites that there is around. Towns don't normally have anything that good in terms of southern exposure. So the projections are solid and based on all these other installations that are out there, already producing today. There aren't any that come up and say, oops,
sorry.
yeah, it didn't work.
Okay.
The technology is down to, such a small percentage that they know exactly what it's gonna produce.
The other thing is,
for
I
the most part.
understand that rebates, they have to meet certain requirements as far as angles and sunlight and all that before they can qualify for rebates
Yeah,
installs.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sold on your system.
yeah, no, I know you are.
Just how we're funding it.
I know you
It
are.
should be in front of the voters on the first year. Not
Thing
the
is-
last year, not the second year, on the first year.
But the thing is, it's an option, and we don't have to exercise that option until we want to, and the thing is, if we decide to exercise that option, and over five years we decide to do it, we could put $6,400, so we could sweep into the account to pay for it per year, it's depending on the rebate, and that's not much money. We could do it out of our budget for that, to own these things.
$5,400 a year, yeah, for only the 5 years, if it came in at the 32 with the rebate.
So that's like,
And we'll know this summer whether the rebate is available, because the fund
We can
replenishes
do-
in July.
A lot as selectmen with our budget. Part of the reason I am a selectman is because I didn't like the way the other selectmen were using the budget. They weren't listening to the voters at those town meetings, and they were doing what they wanted to do with the budget after the fact. So I don't really wanna sit up here and do the same thing without being on the record.
Yeah, but didn't you tell me last year, Dave, just for the heck of it, you said something to the fact that if it's too small, why bring it before the voters? That's what they elected us for.
I don't
Make
think
tough
50,000 is too small.
I think 5,500 is pretty small per year. It's just a thought.
It's a thought, Mike, but you're looking at a whole solar panel farm, you called it today, a farm.
Yeah.
And people are gonna see that, and they're gonna wonder how it's funded. And we're either gonna have to explain to each and every voter alone, or we can do it in a public forum. And I do not see the drawback of doing
We
it
can
in a public
explain it, we
forum.
can explain it, but I don't think we need to pursue a warrant this time. The thing is, if they looked at me, I'm saying, yeah, we're paying $815 a month for that, and the thing is, it's being offset by the generator, it's really, it's no cost. It's no cost to us. We're just banking it, we're buying power from another source, that's what it is.
Right, you'd be essentially buying it from the installer of the solar panels.
And we're just allowing him to use a little bit of vacant land in a perfect opportunity in a location, and that's all it is. Bob, I don't know, I
You know, you have an opportunity to get cheaper and a stable electric rate for a period of time. And if down the road, people don't wanna buy that solar farm, whatever you wanna call it, is we're still gonna be paying the cheaper rate going forward. And I don't think that's a situation where the town's losing or we're losing. But I think when you bring it before the voters, it's gonna depend on the crowd that's there. It's gonna depend on who can, even though you make a good presentation, you're gonna have some people that are gonna talk negative, and they're gonna draw people to their side, and so it could be a mix of what you have. And I think we're doing a good thing for the town, investing in a cheaper, long-lasting cost of energy.
and with an option to lower it down the road, possibly. Okay, have we discussed it, killed it enough tonight?
Yeah, well, you know, the thing is, I'm not trying to bamboozle someone into getting something they don't want, but our job also is to try to save the town's money, and I see a savings there, you know,
Of course, it's the
I
same,
don't
and that's
see-
why I think we should,
I don't see
Approach it
a
and show it to
losing
'em.
proposition. The thing is, again, when I looked at the proposal, I thought if we waited a year, you know, you get the proof of concept that now you can speak to and say, we can own this, or we can just continue to pay the cheaper electric rate. You have your choice, but after 7 years, we could actually own this and be in total control.
That's our option, we have the option to exercise at that point. Or the thing is, voters say, hey, I don't wanna pay out I don't wanna exercise that option, hey, we're still buying electricity at a lower rate for the next 25 years. That's what it goes to. You wanna vote on this now, or you wanna wait till, we can do another work session? We can make a decision on the work session, on how we wanna go. What do you wanna think about it some
Well, I
more?
think the work session, you're gonna wanna focus on
The
the
budget itself.
budget itself.
Well, Dave, we have consensus that it's not, we have to wait a year, and you wanna bring it up forward, so. How can I sway you?
Well, if he's committed to what he's committed to, that's his choice.
I understood.
But, I mean,
I wanted to make sure you understand the logic here.
hey, I gotta tell you,
I understand the logic.
Okay.
Don't lose your train of thought.
Yeah.
I know numbers. I'm doing more numbers probably every day than anybody in this room. But I also know I was put in this position as a selectman to make sure that the townspeople were aware of things. And I don't see what it would hurt to make them aware of it in advance. Why do it after we already have the whole solar farm there? It makes no sense to me at all.
Do you want me to do something as part of some separate things that doesn't even involve a warrant article, like a public information?
Well, I think that, that would have to be the only next step, if we do that, and then maybe we can read the public's idea there,
that's where I was.
I'm not gonna vote to do a project this big that commits the town for 30 years without at least running it in front of the voters. It makes perfect sense to me, I understand all your numbers, I'm in 100% agreement with it. There's no number there you need to sway me on. Just telling the public about it in advance is all I think we need. And the town meeting is coming right up. There's nothing here that's gonna affect the construction of this.
Okay, so we have a little bit of time, is it possible to set up a public hearing
Yep,
to just discuss the solar project?
good,
So that
we've got
we
time.
got some people that'll show up and we'll get some kind of
At least that way we
consensus,
could say,
you know,
we've brought it in front of
You know,
the townspeople.
we can, you know.
If not,
you
we're
can
gonna
make-
take some heat over it.
He can make the decision, he can, do his presentation, we can give him what our feelings are, is that it is a cost savings, and we'll see what direction. that we're
I'm gonna
go in.
remind this board of something, when this was first brought up to us, all of us kinda had a, feeling that it wasn't gonna be financially as good as we thought, cause we've heard about it on some residents and whatnot. All three of these selectmen have done an about face and changed and can look at these numbers and agree that it's a good thing for the town. So, I know from just this select board
You guys are
having
pretty
that,
smart people though, like, I'm not sure I give that same
but you
credit
have to
the
give the
average.
voters that right, because
But sometimes they
No.
can, yeah, but they can be, sometimes they can just have a feeling that's not necessarily rational. and-
No, but the
and
thing
Well,
is,
then
You
you
guys have certainly analyzed
yes, but the
it.
thing is, in the public mind right now, leases have been described as the wrong way to go. And the thing is, that's the general feeling out there, you read any homeowners magazine, home handyman or something like that, 90% of them are saying leases are not the way to go.
Right.
And the thing is, you lose money, and then if you wanna move, it's a problem on that, because the lease stays with the house, and the thing is, avoid leases with this, in this case, we're not going anywhere.
But this makes sense because they're getting that rebate back from the federal
They
government.
get the
on
tax
lease.
credit, they get the depreciation,
Right.
they get all that, and it feeds
They
back
bundle it in.
to our benefit.
Right.
I mean, when I posted the public forum on Page's Corners study, we got a good turnout.
Oh my God, we got a great turnout.
So, if you can give me that information, I could put up on the homepage of the website and then announce a public forum.
In our selectmen, we can be there in support of it, because there's nothing about this that I don't wanna support, I just want the public to know about it in advance.
I'm
In
fine
advance
with
of the installation.
Yeah, as once it's in, I think that's a mute point, I think we just fund it however we need to.
it. And the season right now, with the season, they can't start anything until
Right.
late spring
Right.
anyway,
So
so.
there's no urgency, if we're not gonna pursue a warrant, but the thing is, it's more of an education, we can do this any between now and March. Well, when would be first break ground day?
I'm gonna say it's probably May.
So we could do this in April,
But
No,
if he
I
wants a
wouldn't wanna do
warrant,
it so-
I need to have
we're
it.
not doing a warrant.
Oh,
But I would rather have the public hearing fairly close to where we
an
are
option to put
now,
it on as a warrant.
Okay, you want the option to put it on as a warrant?
If it goes that way, if it goes where we have a lot of negativity here, you might wanna do a warrant. If you have a lot of support here,
Just the opposite.
I think we could at least act on it, you know?
And then, Bob, if we act on it, we can at least say, listen, we had a public forum. If you
Well,
didn't
that's
come,
why- that's
if
why I
you didn't
wanted the
come, it's
public
up to
hearing.
you, but you had the opportunity to come.
And that's,
But right now, if we made a vote tonight, there's no opportunity.
well, that's why I
All right,
mentioned the
we
public
get
hearing,
consensus here.
Yeah,
you know,
Okay.
they do turn out,
I
and,
should give
Alright.
14 days,
We
so
should.
I could technically schedule it for the 31st
good,
of, because we're here at the 10th, and get it up on the website in the paper, and then have
I'm
it for
still gonna
the.
be here, I might be in
I'm
Canada,
traveling.
but I think I will be here.
oh, shucks, no. No, we should have that sooner than later.
No, I agree.
And this way here, we can make a decision too, you
And,
know.
So we'll put it on Hot Topics,
yeah,
we'll post it in 3 public spots like we
Yeah,
normally do.
and I would ask that after this meeting, if we can't make a decision that night, that you be prepared to have, another workshop just to iron out.
A
that-
workshop or right at our next selectmen's meeting, we can make the decision.
We can make the decision right at the selectmen's meeting.
Right at that meeting?
Why not?
No,
With the
no,
week
The
the
after.
following week
31st.
is, the following week is our,
Is the
public
31st
hearing.
our selectmen's?
Yeah, but the public hearing,
31st is.
I figure an hour and 10 minutes for the public hearing to go through the budget, based on history. And then they can make it an action item for about that day.
So why don't we make it after the public meeting, we'll have a review of it at the end of the night.
Okay,
So
on
we
the
can get the rest of our
31st.
stuff in the schedule.
Okay.
This is gonna be a longer.
Go ahead.
night.
I'm out of town January 30th through February 15th.
We're not having it then.
Oh, no, okay, oh. Do it on the 24th?
24, we have enough time? Yeah.
Well, it's not technically necessary, but Be nice to give them as close to 14 days.
Let's do it the 24th.
It's okay.
Will you be here?
Sure.
on the
This is
24th?
not a legal requirement, this is
Right.
just, we wanna make sure we give more than a 2-day notice.
Right.
And Lean, I don't know what we would get here, if it's the messenger or boat times or whatever, but if we could put it in the papers that we're gonna have a public forum on the
Yep,
solar panel or solar farm option. And I think in that we should state right where it's located, so people think it's not on the buildings as well.
right,
You
On the ground, solar farm, solar panel
okay.
concept.
will they put that in the monitor?
Using all the
Yeah,
roof
they
space
can-
on.
That's probably
So they
very
don't get
good
Yeah,
confused.
I could probably get it.
I
in.
noticed the stack doesn't go down very much.
No,
Some people
Office.
may say if it's on the ground, I don't care, you know,
Oh, on the roof, I mean, that was a major shortcoming,
on the ground, solar panel, solar farm forum,
ground mount, just call it ground
Ground.
mount,
Crown mount.
ground mount. Ground mount.
that's the technical term. Okay, we're good, thank you.
Yep.
So you'll be ready to talk 24th?
Yep.
Audio visual, you'll need anything?
Probably.
Okay.
Did you give me that whole attachment in an email? Did you give me the whole, I think if they had the opportunity to read,
Oh, this whole thing?
yeah.
Can I
I
make a
would probably
recommendation?
wanna-
Distill
As
it.
a general
Huh?
Distill
discussion
it.
without
Yeah.
point.
Yeah, this, I would rather, this is great for this, but
Yeah,
I wanna edit.
One, one,
You want
or two,
edited?
one pager with maybe a
Discussion.
little bit, maybe on the back a picture of where you're gonna put it, the location, a little map.
okay, so you can get that to me ASAP, and then I'll get that up on the hot topics. In the meantime, I could still just put a general
A general notice.
notice in the newspaper
yep.
that we'll be holding it on the 24th.
Yep.
Do
And
7:15.
we can configure this room, so maybe you can use a white, maybe a projector from
We
here.
would,
Do you,
Chris Fifth and library and out here too, all this,
Yep,
I don't
yep.
know where you normally do, but.
It would probably be even more compelling if I had the vendor, I don't know if they're available, but would you be opposed to me
No.
having the vendor?
No, but he's the one we're going with,
Right,
and there's no competition
no
here.
competition,
The competition, that train is passed.
yep. Cause he certainly would even sound more credible than I do.
Right, but I don't
Sometimes-
want a salesman approach.
Yeah,
No, I know
that's what I was
that,
gonna
just in
say.
terms of the whole,
Right,
I think you should be the
the lead.
lead,
and have
because you
him
have
as
a
a
good way of coming
backup.
across, and then let him do the technical
That's
questions.
Right, the thing is, we don't need a
Yeah.
snow job. And the thing is, when you, that's perception that he's coming to sell us something. No, your committee has already investigated this,
Yeah.
and you're coming across
Okay,
as a subject
no,
matter expert.
that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that, you know, you did a good job working with us through it, and I think we'd like to do that. Just let him answer the small technical questions that you may not be able to.
And you're a taxpayer like everyone else in the room.
Mm.
And that has a lot of credibility.
Yeah.
I need a coffee now.
Okay,
Okay, good.
You know, a coffee
24.
shop I could probably pass right through tonight, Dunkin' Donuts in town.
Oh, bye.
$815 lease.
No form or anything,
No
right?
forum.
Don't need it.
okay.
All right. So,
I'm sorry, Woody, you kept putting your hand up during, did you wanna speak?
Just real quick, if you forward that to me, Lean, the date and all the information.
yeah, you'll put something up at the transfer
I'll
station?
put it on my big sign, and I'll
Okay.
get it out either Saturday or Tuesday morning.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good. That even helps more too, just having Woody, who's, you know, a shepherd of the area.
Well, it is under her, I mean, he's already taken, as you said, what I'm being here, you were being bragged about, taking measures to make sure nothing, no damage is gonna be occurring. So people were talking very highly of you.
Right.
Okay,
And at
Thank you.
least we come to a consensus then is, we'll give the public some input, and then we'll make a decision.
and we can get which way the sentiment of the public. And I don't want the energy committee and all their wives and all their friends coming, I want some other people coming in too.
oh, we will, I don't know if it's anything like the last one we had, it's
Yeah.
a good turnout.
Okay. Well, we had a Page Corner, public hearing, and that was, almost standing room.
I'm
Was
gonna
it here?
ask-
Yes,
Oh,
I'm gonna ask the question, is this a big enough forum for it, do you think?
We have a 50-person capacity, do you think we'll exceed 50?
I don't know, that's why I was asking you, how many
Hey,
people came
listen,
last time?
the farming group only
Didn't
generated,
40, right?
not equal, 30, yeah,
and
23.
then, there were a lot of naysayers there.
All right, good discussion, we'll cross that one off the list.
All right,
good.
see ya, 24.
Yep.
All right, work workshop, date to review the, budget workshop.
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm gonna propose it for Monday at 4 P M.
That's the 14th, does that work for you, Dave?
Yeah, I'll make that work, cause he's doing it 4, so I can do it.
Okay, 4 PM.
Lean, can you send me a text just for giggles?
Text
So 4
and
PM?
the
4
email,
PM.
or just,
Monday?
Just a
Yes.
text,
okay,
The town
reminder,
email doesn't go to my
Yeah,
phone,
what a meeting
I
set.
don't know if I want it to, so,
okay, reminder that the meeting's at 4.
yeah, if you can.
Yep, I'll put a
Okay,
alarm on my calendar.
and then, I wanna bring up some old business, we needed to set a meeting for the Everett Road, class 6 upgrade. And I was talking with the, planning board chair today, who I invited to that meeting. And what I'd like to do is, have a subset meeting, and have this, group of the road agent, just the road agent, the planning board chair who has, bring some history to the table, and one selectman to meet with them tomorrow morning, and then prepare proposals and recommendations to the select board for decision. And, so that will go on tomorrow, and the thing is, I'm taking volunteers, if no volunteer, I will do it.
I'm good with you doing it as long as, there's no conflict of you being on the planning already.
No, I'm
No
okay.
chance of it going back to planning, I don't think, right?
No, it's gonna be, right now, the decision, as historically said, it sits with the selectmen,
Yeah,
which way the road
because it's
goes.
a class 6, it's currently class 6.
And so the selectmen is the governing body of which way it goes. And the thing is, remember I just wanna recall something that was brought to my attention. Remember the town put, those things, as you develop one lot, you had to be able to turn around, then develop another lot for the turnaround? That is null and void according to Ken, because too much time has passed. He's got the subdivision in perpetuity, but after a certain amount of time, the town's restrictions can't go in perpetuity. And so we have to create new guidelines, and that's where the select board will come in. We have to establish new guidelines for the establishment of the road.
Mike, that was part of the
Approval, right?
approval, that doesn't go away.
Well, the thing is, according to Ken, who's I feel is a subject matter expert, that's why I want him in the meeting too, to explain that further. He was going down that path today, I said, well,
Unless
let's
we
wait
can
till the
get
meeting.
legal counsel to agree with him, I do not agree with that. It
Yeah,
was part of the approval, those
Well-
approvals can't change.
Thing is, we can, after we make a decision of which path we wanna follow as a board, not just one person, they're gonna give recommendations to us. We can follow the same recommendations that were set forth, but whatever recommendations, we can go through legal review to see what the legal review would say.
I'm gonna give you an example, if they develop this one lot, and the town doesn't have a spot to turn around, I mean, we're looking at Kelsey Road all over again, that's why that was put in that approval, and that's gotta stay in there.
Well, the thing is, you may say that, but Ken has legal bearing on it, was citing some legal, expertise there, and so, he's not a lawyer, but he's familiar with the rules, so it may be a feel-good thing, but the thing is, I would rather make sure legal counsel chimes in.
If he's trying to say that it's lapsed over 4 years or 6 years of planning,
4 to 6 years.
different towns have adopted 4 years and 6 years. If it has lapsed, then the whole subdivision has lapsed
No.
and would have to come back in front of planning.
it's been recorded, it can't
No,
lapse.
he specifically said it's the town's requirements have lapsed, it's the subdivision itself stays in perpetuity. And the thing is, I'll ask for that clarification tomorrow, again, it's on the information session, and they're gonna generate recommendations. And the thing is, as I said in the meeting last week, I wanna make it a win-win for the town and for the gentleman out there who wants to develop that property. The thing is, we have 14 acres going on that road off to the left-hand side that behind Tucker Hill subdivision, that belongs to the town. And right now, we have no access to that, or
What do you mean?
we have 14 acres of land down there.
The access is Everett Road.
If you call that a road,
I use that every year.
what do you, I don't know what you take down there, but it's not a motor
I
vehicle.
take these legs.
Yeah, right.
Okay, but I'll leave it at
And I
that.
like it because nobody else could go down there.
You guys are discussing something that we should be discussing when you come back with your information.
Correct.
Cause if we need legal interpretation, we'll have to get that or whatever, so.
Let me come back to the board with the recommendations and
And you're prematurely trying to give us information that you're probably better off to keep to yourself till
Okay,
you find out what's going on.
we'll leave it at that until tomorrow. Mailbox items now. Okay. why are our employees asking about our meetings? He put Mr. Woody Bound put a
No,
right
that's
to.
for the meeting we requested of him.
Right, but he's an employee of the town, he can talk to the administrator, why does he have to put this is the wrong type of management tool to be using. That, we don't talk to our employees with the right to request
Let me
information.
see.
This is
Is that our email, Mike?
that's not an email, that's a written document not from a public, from a town employee to another town employee. Give me a break, thank you.
I didn't respond to his email promptly enough, I guess, and he was concerned and asked for it
Yeah, so this is the same questions that were in the email we got a week or two ago, right?
a week ago, yeah.
That's not the way to do it. If he's got a problem with lean, he should come to the board of selectmen. I'm sorry, if you're a problem, he comes to us.
So I received the email on a Thursday morning, I was really busy, I didn't respond right off. Friday, completely spaced it, he left that in his mailbox on Saturday, so I received it Monday morning from his mailbox.
So, I don't know, that's, you don't, there's things called telephones following
Was
up
he
with
here
that email.
tonight for that?
No, I don't think he was here for that. But I just, I think that's poor form. I'm a manager, a department manager. To me, that's not the way you manage a department. If he had a problem with you, Lean, he could come to us directly.
Well, Mike, you're confusing managing his department with managing his own job.
But that is part of his department, though. Why does he have to use a right, that mechanism to get information?
Because he sent an email and nobody responded.
We have other selectmen, if he could have mentioned something tonight, he could have called me up, I see him once a week, he never mentions anything to me. In fact, the last time I talked to him, he said, next time when he comes in to talk to Lean, he's gotta get his lawyer to come in with him. That is not conducive to good management, and I want Lean to call a meeting with him and ask him if he's gonna bring his lawyer in. I don't think that's right, that's just my opinion, but the thing is, it'll be his nickel, not mine. When I say mine, the town's. But thing is, it's just,
When is that meeting coming up anyway?
it's next week,
This week, right? The
Which
17th.
meeting?
this one here.
Okay, it's not gonna be on the same night as the other
No,
meeting?
no.
Okay.
So,
Oh,
that's,
yes, we've asked him to come in on the
So
17th.
let's finish that one up while
17th,
it's on. Are we gonna answer those?
I already have.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
I just forgot it had even been put in your basket. You always get copies of the right to knows that come through the office.
All right.
And the only document there was, I have to say, for the record, gentlemen, the only document there was were the minutes from the meeting. And so when you and Bob proposed that he come in, it wasn't even me at the time. Okay, next thing, you have a copy of the, chief, we asked about the on-call, chief was already here. This is more of information only, so I can be educated, and we can be educated on how he uses the word stipend to take care of business within this department.
Yeah, and I do agree it's the same information he gave us last year when we were talking about the stipend.
But we have it in writing, we can put it, incorporate something like that maybe in the personnel plan this
He
year.
did give it
Okay,
last year too.
well, obviously we didn't do anything with it. Okay, that's that, another copy. The email, yeah, the email, okay, there was an email, a surveyor sent us an email regarding, wants us, the board to, the planning, wants us to direct the planning board into some action.
I thought I did something.
He gave us no details on it, and so I prepared a response to him. And I gave you the response earlier, and I'd like to have a little discussion if we wanna pursue that response, or you want me to wait on it.
Mike, can we just read the legal opinion before we make a decision on it,
Okay.
to send that out, is
Yeah.
that all right?
Yeah, remember the legal opinion regarding monuments, that was before our time on the board, right?
You need copies of it? Is that what you
No,
want?
well, yeah, you just make sure you read it, and we can address this next week.
Yeah.
I have no word
Put
next week.
this in your
but-
basket so you can read it?
Yeah,
I'll probably read it later.
okay, we have to go into non-public tonight, we're gonna talk about, something good, but we wanna keep it on a QT, so we're going non-public. It's referencing the town report and dedication. I'm gonna open up for public comment now.
Nope.
Public comment's closed. Dave, to you.
I'm good, Mike.
Bob, to you.
Well, just a couple of things, so I'll bring it up again, because kind of touched on it lightly. there a request from the, building department as far as paying mileage to the building inspector, which I don't have a problem with, but I have a problem by the way it could be incepted, you know? Number one is, they had 58.5 cents is a reimbursement.
Is that the government rate, Bob?
No, the government rate is 54.5 cents. So anything over 54.5 cents, and they just raised it a penny. in
How
this
did
year.
they come up, they said in that letter too, didn't they, wow, they come up with that 58?
Yeah,
I
they
thought
looked
it
it
was
up.
the government rate.
Isn't it, it's
Oh,
right
It's
there?
right here, here's IRS.
No, I was wondering how they got their rate, I thought.
It's
they
right there
said
to your
it was-
right, that's it. Isn't that one?
What's it say about the rate?
Federal mileage rate of .58, they may be it may be a typo, it may have the wrong number.
Yeah, because this tells you when they increased it with the gov. Anything over the
That's
50.
what my company always used when I got reimbursed. Yeah,
If,
54.5?
yeah, if
the,
you,
the IRS amount, which is always right about
Okay.
that.
if you pay over 54.5 cents, then that other money has to be claimed as income.
No, I think we should stick with that amount, Bob.
54,
And so I'm just bringing this to your attention is that's, I just went on the IRS site, cause I was printing out forms and stuff.
What, is 2019 gonna be 55?
It might be less, cause right now gas is
I
going
thought you
down.
said they went up a penny.
No, they just went up a penny for this year to make it 54, used to be 53.5. So there's that mileage there. The other thing too is, so I figured out what it would take, and that's about a little over 35 miles.
Yeah,
A
they said
week.
32, I thought, in that letter.
Yeah, but it says, when you figure out the amount of money, that's because you figured it at 58.5. But at the government amount, it's a little over 35 miles. Now, you don't get paid for traveling to your office or back home, but you do get paid to go to the different sites. That's where that money would come in, because if you're paying them to come from home to here and go home.
No, I think it was only to the sites.
Yeah, so, again, I don't know how that's gonna work unless he gets a mileage reimbursement on a monthly thing. I don't know if we have.
That's
A
how it
spot
would,
for
that's how
that.
it
Would
would
be
happen.
under like.
That's
He
how
would
it would
have
have
to
to
give,
be.
he would have to give an expense report with a mileage on it, and then
Yeah,
we reimburse.
Cause that's how
him
the
for
state is with
The
their
following-
mileage. Their
that. Same with
mileage
all business
reimbursement
vehicles.
is that way. For this year, the only solution I'd have where he could make something is he could fill out Form 2106 for going to all the different job sites.
But they aren't asking for anything for this year. They're
No,
asking
I'm
for
just
the-
saying.
no, he's
For
gonna
his-
help the employee this
For
year.
his
His
person,
way if he can get some more money back from the federal government.
if he wanted to, there's Form 2106, which is a mileage, so he gets to the office, and then when he's going to these different sites, he could use
He could
that.
deduct that
As
as
a business
taxes.
expense.
He could do it now as.
Right,
as
that-
he wants.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
If he's not aware of that, he should be made aware of that, so it would be helpful to him.
So anyways, I just wanted to bring that to your attention, because I saw that in there, and I said, geez, when I was on the site today, because I printed out all of my forms for doing my taxes, and I went to look at it, and I saw it was 54.5, and I know that's what the state allows when I go to a meeting for the state, that's what they reimburse me for mileage. I have to fill out that form every time I go, so I get my mileage reimbursement, so.
So we're a general consensus, a monthly expense report for mileage for the 2019?
That would probably make more sense to stay within that,
But I'm in
Remember
agreement
that
with the reduced hours, which she re-put in her letter, instead of 24 hours additional, it was gonna be, or 30, it's gonna be 20 hours additional.
right,
And then to go with the mileage expense, which added $1,000 to her budget line, which
right.
if it only comes up to $700, there's still a savings, so if we go by that IRS amount, I'm good with that.
Right,
We have consensus then?
yeah.
Okay, we just gotta,
But I just wanted to bring it to your attention before we had the meeting, because I saw the notice
Yeah.
in that mailbox.
I think we can actually have Lean send her a letter that if we use that IRS amount, which she might just have a typo on there, and, we'll just follow that amount whether it goes up or down each year. And then to create a form,
Right.
an expense form for
Right.
him to submit to us.
right, I
Okay.
think you can create a expense form.
So what they had proposed was the 25 260, which was based on 24 hours. So you're
Right,
saying if I reduce that to 21,
right in here, not 2120, she put down at the reduced hours.
20 hours, okay.
Yeah,
And then,
right, Mike, is that how it's worded?
Well, the thing is that,
what does the letter say?
It's in the
They're
first
requesting
paragraph.
$1,000 be
I
budgeted?
would like to request the building inspector budget be increased to a 20 per week, 20 hours per week.
20
Oh.
hours, so she went down from 24 to 20.
Okay, so that would bring the 25 down to 21, but add $1,000 for this mileage
Yes.
thing.
For the
Yeah.
mileage,
Okay.
right.
So that's how we wanna reword that and, let her know that we reviewed it and we're okay with it as long as we use that IRS.
And see, by using that 54.5 also, and he submits his mileage report, is he doesn't get anything that he has to claim.
That's right. It's all done.
It's all done.
You don't have to do it after the end of the year or
No.
nothing.
No,
Direct Donna to create the report. She can find it out, other companies, I mean, other municipalities online just to mimic.
It's a very simple
Form,
expense
yeah.
report.
You don't have to do that, give it to Donna, she's the admin officer
Okay,
for that.
so bill monthly and for the miles that he
Yep, uses.
incurs here at the town.
And make sure that it's stated on there that it's from the town hall to the job site and back.
Back, right, not commuting costs. Commuting costs are exempt, as Bob said. We're good, I think that was good, gentlemen.
One other, have we got one other thing, Bob?
no, that was
It comes
it.
back to me then, and I just wanna say that, we talked about this earlier, but the thing is, Primex, we have a credit because we did so good on our workman's compensation program, so we got a credit of,
That isn't that doesn't run that way. They
Well-
use their whole pool of monies from everybody,
Yes,
and if the pool does well, they share it with everybody.
okay, well, it's the pool's overall performance.
yes.
Yes.
Somebody pulled us out of the pool this year, Mike.
Out of a hat, right? Well, we got bottom line, we have $8,900 coming back to us and change. The thing is, the two decisions we can make, we should make tonight is, do we put it to, as a credit against future
I think it
premiums?
shows you.
Or
what
check.
Shows you what your future premium's gonna be. and
Right.
It shows you what it's gonna be without it, so I mean, I put it against the workers' comp.
So currently,
wanted the money.
I inserted in the
Yeah, I think we should
2019
Put it in our general fund.
budget, 22,563, which is what our 2019 premium is going to be. You can either request that 8,914 in a check, and I'll deposit it into the general fund, and leave that budget item at the 22, or you can ask me to reduce
I
that
think we
budget.
should leave that budget item because it might not be as favorable next year and take that in a check and put it towards our
You know,
general
it's
fund.
almost like a new selectman come in and look at that, and say, why is it,
You have to explain it in the following year, that why did you have such an increase from one,
Right,
is
so I just assume leave it and get that in a check and put it towards our general fund and then
that what you wanna do?
we can
Is
decide.
you wanted the credit?
Well, it doesn't make any difference.
I
to me.
think-
I know in the past we've applied it as a credit,
Yeah.
you know, so.
Yeah, we have done that, and just explained in the following year that
The following-
the increases in these three
It does the
lines.
same thing.
I mean,
It does.
I'm kind of ambivalent.
Yeah, let's just get the check and put it towards the bottom line and we'll have when we do our budget for the town side, we can,
So that money we get this year, we can't count as money that we got last year towards our budget. It would be next year that we would, so I would actually put it on our revenue as known unanticipated revenue. We
Yeah.
could increase the budget here,
Yeah,
the
the revenues,
if you want me to do that.
yeah, that's what you're asking for.
Yeah, insurance, division, other, I would put
yeah, I had it right
8,000,
in.
914?
Yeah.
8,000,
Cause in a few weeks, we're gonna decide how that is all gonna break down anyway, like you said. Monday, there you go.
Some of it.
I'll request it in a check and I'll include it here under our projected
Keeps
2019
it
revenue.
cleaner. Yeah, that's what I think.
And Lean, are we gonna have on Monday, we gonna have the balance left over, or is that gonna show in the general fund?
For the surplus on the,
Yeah, on the building maintenance.
if I hadn't gotten so tied up with this
So we'll
new
have.
officer, yes, definitely, because I have it, it's on my desk.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, we go into non-public per RSA.
Oh, wait a minute, okay, make sure I didn't miss
You didn't
anything.
want it- you didn't
One
have
second.
anything to ask her, no?
Okay.
You have
yeah.
anything for the group?
No, I think that was it, I
He's
just wanna make
keeping
sure I got
things
that
rolling.
clear.
We didn't fix the clock yet, can we get that on
In my busy schedule, I will.
All
Not
right.
your schedule, you got other people
All right.
to delegate to.
All right, enough small talk. Let's call this meeting to order here. Non-public, I'd like to make a motion to go non-public for RSA 91 Alpha colon 3, Roman number 2, paragraph C, subject annual report dedication. Kaminsky, do I have a second?
I'll second his motion.
Kaminsky, yes.
Knowledge, yes.
Martel, yes.
We're going to non-public